Am I the a-hole? My 47 male son, 28 male, cheated on his pregnant wife, 25 female, and now I'd rather support her than him. My wife, 48 female, and I, 48 male, have 3 kids, and this one is the oldest. Admittedly, we made some mistakes with him. He was unplanned, and we had him very young. We were both balancing school and work, and he was always troubled. I thought we had done some work, mended some bridges, and that he had moved on from the issues of his younger days. When he got married, my wife and I were so happy. We thought she was wonderful and that she brought out the best in him. When they told us earlier this year that she was pregnant, we were thrilled. I couldn't wait to be a grandpa. Well, the pregnancy is now at risk, and my daughter-in-law had to go on bed rest. She can barely get out of bed at all, and my wife, our 2 daughters, 21 female and 17 female, and I have been doing our best to help her, since she doesn't really have anyone else. With her bedridden, we really thought this was my son's chance to step up. Well, he didn't. A few weeks ago, daughter-in-law called my wife and she was really upset. We were worried something was wrong with her pregnancy and rushed over. Well, she showed us his tablet. It was connected to his WhatsApp and he had some very explicit conversations with another woman. Not only that, but he was talking crap about his wife, saying she was faking her pregnancy complications, that only the other woman understood him, and that she was sexy compared to his bloated wife with her stretch marks, and how he would totally leave his wife for this woman once the baby came, and he made sure it wasn't his. He called his wife entitled and complained that she expected him to wait on her hand and foot. He also said that we were giving him the stink eye and lecturing him all the time. So not only did he start spending more time out of the house, leaving us to care for his wife, but he actually went out and cheated on her and then badmouthed her with us while doing it. Again, he cheated on his pregnant, bedridden wife instead of taking care of her. I'm getting angry even typing this. We helped our daughter-in-law pack a bag and brought her to our house. We decided to wait for him to check on her, except he never did. For 2 days, she stayed at our house. My wife took a day off work and my youngest stayed home from school. They've been supporting her as best they can. When 2 days passed and he still hadn't checked in, I went over to his apartment, where I found him just chilling, playing his PS5. I went ballistic. I told him I couldn't believe what a piece of trash I had raised, and that this was no way to treat his family. He just shrugged and said we've always treated him like trash anyway, so this was all our fault, and that his wife was cheating on him first. I asked how he knew that and if he had any proof. He said something ridiculous about her not wanting to quit her job, plus some guy from work looking at her funny at a work event. He insisted there couldn't possibly be any reason for her not to quit her job unless she was cheating. So why should he care about her? I told him those were freaking excuses, and if he really believed that, he wouldn't be pawning off taking care of her onto us. He said it was completely justified because we always treated him like crap and that he didn't owe us explanations. I told him to get screwed, and things got even more heated. It ended with me smashing his PS5 against the wall and him kicking the side mirror of my car as I was driving off. By the time I got home, my wife was crying because he had already called her up, yelled at her, and accused us of kidnapping his wife. He was also demanding that we pay for his PS5, which is insane because we bought it for him 2 years ago for his birthday. My wife was very distraught and it took me a long time to calm her down. The next day, my mother called me because my son had reached out to her. She started admonishing me for not standing up for my son, throwing the whole blood is thicker than water line at me. I told her she could get lost because of our own drama from my childhood. She has no right to call me out, but it's nothing new for her to justify and excuse horrible behavior, like she did with my dad and stepdad. She echoed my son's accusations, and I told her that was rich coming from her. Because her cheating and my dad's cheating are exactly why I know how much damage it can cause to a family. She told me it was in the past. I reiterated that she could get lost because it's literally happening right now. My son is cheating on his wife, and she's giving me grief for it and excusing his behavior. She kept arguing until I got frustrated and hung up. In the weeks since, my daughter-in-law has been inconsolable. She's been staying with us, and my wife, my youngest daughter, and I have been doing our best to support her. We sit with her, watch TV, talk, and have family meals. But she's clearly devastated. My son has been sending her threats, saying she'll end up alone, unloved, and a single mom if she doesn't come back. It got so bad we told her to block him. When he tried that nonsense with my wife, she told him that the way he was acting, he was the one who would end up alone. We told daughter-in-law we'll stick with her no matter what. As far as we're concerned, she's family, and we love her. She seems grateful but understandably sad. Meanwhile, my son has been pestering us and getting more aggressive until we all just blocked him. My mom keeps bringing up the blood is thicker than water BS. But you know what? F that. Maybe we weren't the best parents to my son. We left him with my mom a lot while we worked and went to school, and maybe he felt neglected. That's probably why he acted out as a kid. But I still can't excuse treating the woman he supposedly loved this way, making up lies about her, and refusing to apologize or make amends. So, to hell with blood. I choose the daughter-in-law who has been nothing but loving and wonderful to all of us and needs us now, over the son who's turned into the worst kind of adult. I said it. My son is a piece of turd, and I think I might hate him. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I should have been a different parent when he was a child. But this is how things are right now, and I want nothing to do with him. Here I am, looking for validation online. Am I the a-hole? Does my mom have a point? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your son is just looking for excuses not to be a father. This, regardless of what happened when he was a child, he's an adult now and responsible for his actions. He's just making excuses for acting like a toddler having a tantrum. Stick with your daughter-in-law and grandchild. Go no contact with your mother and son. Leave them to each other. Your anger is justified. Your son's behavior is appalling, and your loyalty to your daughter-in-law is commendable. While no parent is perfect, you've done your best, and now you're protecting someone who truly needs support. Blood doesn't excuse bad behavior, and prioritizing your daughter-in-law's well-being over your son's actions is the right call. You're not in the wrong. At this point, my response would be, what is the best possible situation for my future grandchild? And what do I need to do to make sure that child is secure, loved, and supported? His mother keeps saying blood is thicker than water, and yet daughter-in-law is literally carrying his grandchild. I say protect the daughter-in-law and grandchild at all costs, and that innocent child must be the priority now. The son can go kick rocks. He sounds a lot like my oldest brother who always blames my parents for all his bad choices. Meanwhile, my other two siblings and I have the exact same parents as him, yet we were able to rise above it. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry your son turned out the way he has. Maybe you and your wife did make some mistakes when raising him, but he's an adult now, and he's responsible for his own a-holery. He sounds like a horrible human being, and until he reforms, if he ever does, which is doubtful, all of you deserves the peace his absence from your lives will bring. Next story. Am I the a-hole for exposing my dad and his wife in therapy and airing their dirty laundry to the therapist? My dad and his wife put the step-family in family therapy after my dad's youngest step-kid 10 ran away back in June. The push for family therapy instead of individual therapy was because my dad's other step-kids, 16 and 15, were more upset when their half-brother was found, and my brother, 14 and I, 17, weren't all over the youngest when he was found, promising would be better siblings and all that. Let me break down the family history and the dirty laundry I aired. To start with my dad's wife. She was married, had an affair, and her youngest turned out not to be her ex-husband's. When her ex found out, her youngest was already born, and he ended their marriage and fought to remove any parental responsibility for her youngest. Apparently, he knew the real dad or something, and it got messy. Her two kids knew what happened and resented and hated the youngest for it. My dad's wife hates her ex for doing what he did, and she had some legal issues with the biological dad of her youngest. He's in prison now, and it's a whole mess. She knows her older kids hate the youngest, and she tries to encourage them to have a better relationship. But her older two wish the youngest had died a long time ago. They blame him and their mom for the family falling apart. Her ex-husband has the older two 50% of the time. Then there's the three of us. My mom ended herself when I was 7 and my brother was 4. My mom had a terrible childhood and was abused by 3 adult members of her family. She and my dad told me a very PG version of it when she was alive, and I had asked why she had no family. When I look back on her life, there was always a sadness and fear around her. She was in therapy for a long time, but I think she still had demons she hadn't fully healed from. Then she was violated and got pregnant from it. I only remember this because of my dad. He was so angry when he found out she was pregnant that he basically called her a bunch of names and said he wasn't raising the spawn of some evil a-hole like that, and he left my mom. I don't even think she wanted to keep the pregnancy, but being violated again and my dad leaving her pushed her over the edge. After she passed, and my dad realized I was aware of too much of what had happened, he told me I could never tell my brother. He also said I should find a way to forgive him for what he did. When I met his wife, the two of them acted like mom was selfish and didn't love us enough. That led to me and my dad fighting a lot. For whatever reason, they were never careful about talking about his wife's history either. When we were in a therapy session 2 weeks ago, they said it didn't feel like we became a family when they got married, and they felt bad because the youngest was being the most affected. They said there were 0 reasons why we should be resisting becoming a family so much. That's when I brought up everything in front of the therapist, right there in the middle of the session. I told her about my dad's wife cheating, having a kid with someone else, apparently someone with a record who's now serving time, and how her kids hated her and her youngest for it. I mentioned how he hates her ex. Then I brought up my mom and what my dad did after her attack. I talked about the things they say to try to make my brother and me closer to my dad's wife. I also said a reason we never became a family is because 2 repulsive people keep trying to run away from all the crap they've done. After the therapy session, my dad's wife wanted me out of the house. My brother wanted to come with me, and now we're staying with our uncle. But my dad has shown up twice since then, trying to drag us back to therapy. My brother and I have both refused to go, and that's only made my dad and his wife angrier with me. They said I should be willing to face the consequences of airing the dirty laundry and that I was wrong to say all of that to the therapist. So, am I the a-hole? I'm asking because we were all there when I said it, and that might be wrong, especially with a 10-year-old hearing it, and my brother learning just how bad our dad really is. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry you had to carry that burden of knowledge about your dad's and stepmom's true characters for so long on your own. I would encourage you to ask your uncle to help you get into individual therapy to help you process everything. As for your POS dad and his wife, screw them. Their actions are what brought them to this place, not yours. All of the kids have a right to know who their parents truly are. Be well, OB. Speculation on my part, OB, but your dad and stepmom sound like the type who think therapy is there to fix you kids and get you all in line, with no real implication for them. In reality, it's the parents who often need the most help in understanding themselves and shaping their own attitudes. You're so spot on that their desire to rug sweep and run from their problems is the massive issue here. I applaud your wisdom. I hope the so-called adults in this situation take some time to look in the mirror. Seems to me that your dad and stepmother went into therapy thinking they could use it to force the kids to become the happy blended family of their fantasy. It's all about surface appearances to others. Last story. Am I the a-hole for the role I played in getting me and my younger siblings removed from our parents? Me, 15 male, and my younger siblings, 10, 8, 7, and 5, were taken from our parents a couple of months ago. I have another sister, 16, and she was a big part of the reason. Ever since I can remember, she's always done things to hurt people. It didn't matter who it was. She'd lash out and hurt them. I never got hurt because I was about the same size and could push her off. But she hurt our parents and other kids before. And when we had younger siblings, it was the same. A few years ago, she was in the hospital for a while. And when she came back out, our parents sat me down and told me she had something called a conduct disorder. And it's why she is the way she is. They didn't explain it to me, but I looked it up and it fits my sister a lot. When she came home, we were given a caseworker who would come by to help my parents find resources and make sure things didn't get so bad that someone had to leave the house for good. She was never around during the bad stuff. Ever since my younger sister 10 started crawling, I had to protect her if my older sister tried to hurt her. Then it was my other siblings too. My younger siblings would sleep with me or in my room because they were afraid of our older sister. I don't feel like my parents ever did enough to keep my younger siblings safe. That was on me. I didn't mind doing it for a long time. Even when the caseworker would ask, I wouldn't be as open about how bad things were and how much stuff happened. Now I regret it, but I thought I could do a better job. My older sister is getting more dangerous, though. One time I got home late, and my siblings had locked themselves in my bedroom because they had a family laptop for schoolwork and my sister wanted it. My mom was trying to calm her down, but it wasn't working, and she was really losing it. When I got her away from my room, I got inside and locked the door again. I was able to comfort my siblings enough that they fell asleep. I think they were so afraid it just made them tired. Then I called the caseworker and told her it was getting worse, how bad things really were, and that we were locked in our room. She came to the house with someone else. They talked to each of us, and after a couple of days we were told to pack some stuff because we'd be staying with family. My aunt and uncle took my younger siblings, and my grandparents took me. My grandparents couldn't cope with all of us, and my aunt and uncle didn't want me. Since we were removed, not only are my parents mad at me, and I'm mad at them too, but my aunt and uncle blame me because my siblings miss me. They feel like I put this big burden on everyone because I got us taken away from our parents. I try to see my siblings as much as I can, but I'm also dealing with stuff that's coming to light more. I'm in a really bad place mentally, and I'm not sleeping like I should be. But my aunt and uncle keep saying I'm not there for my siblings enough. And since I'm the reason we were taken away, I should be taking it more seriously. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. If your aunt and uncle want you to see the siblings more, then they should have let you live there. You did the right thing. If your older sister had really hurt one of your younger siblings, you would always wish you had done exactly this. CPS might be able to help you with your mental health and other things right now. It might be worth reaching out to them and asking. You can also tell them if you think your aunt and uncle aren't fit to care for your siblings. They always want to keep children with family, but sometimes that's not what's best for the kids. OP, tell your aunt and uncle to take your older sister so you and your siblings can live together at home. Then they only have to worry about one kid. I'm sure that'll be no problem for them. You aren't the person who got y'all taken away. She was. You did the right thing. And screw your aunt and uncle. They didn't have to live in fear like y'all did. Why don't they just take your violent sister so you and your siblings can go home? I bet they'd say no. Your sister needs to be in a hospital. They said they would never, but I'm supposed to keep protecting my siblings so we can all be together. Only I can't be there all the time. I wasn't there the day I had to call. Scared the crap out of me. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down and charging rent when my stepdad started trying to tell me what to do in my own house? My stepdad, 55 male, has been married to my mom, 52 female, for about 5 years. They were doing all right but hit hard times and eventually had their house foreclosed on. So they moved in with me, 27 female. They've been living here for about 2 or 3 months now, and it's been going okay until last week or so. Also, my stepdad has been working a part-time job, but has not had full-time employment since then. Anyway, I feel like some of the issues started since I've been on vacation, which I have for 2 weeks. Sometime during the first few days, he saw me heading out and made some sort of comment regarding my outfit. He said the shorts were too short, and that I should reconsider. We fought about it back and forth, until I just decided to leave because I was tired of reasoning with him. He's been making a lot of these comments at various times and in different ways, like, your skirt or shorts are too short, your belly is showing, etc. I've told him to stop, and he says okay, but then he starts up again. I can't say I understand why. I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I had my boyfriend over. I've told my mom about it as well, and she said that she doesn't support it, but that this is a dispute he and I need to solve. My boyfriend stayed until maybe 10:30 to 11 p.m. and then left. My stepdad didn't say anything while he was here, but he emotionally imploded after he left. He said that it's wrong to have guys over that late and to be in my room with them alone. He said that we don't stand for these things in our house. I responded that he can stand for whatever he wants in his house, maybe even in a hypothetical our house, but he can't tell me what to do in my house. I told him that the days of him making unsolicited comments at me need to end. On top of that, I told him that from here on out, I'm charging $400 a month in rent with a month-to-month agreement. Additionally, if he continues to make comments, this agreement is over, and he'll be out of the house as soon as I can make it happen. My mom was upset at first, but I was able to calm her down. First, I reminded her that she told me it was up to us to solve this dispute, and this is how I've decided to solve it. Secondly, I told her that since they've been staying for a while, charging rent would make my life a bit easier for as long as he stays. She was a bit more amenable to that second point. My stepdad is just overall quite pissy. He hasn't told my mom or me his thoughts on the arrangement since he yelled at me about it the night of our big argument, but he is just generally ignoring me when he can. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I think your boyfriend needs to come over a lot more. I think you need to assert your dominance over your home each and every day. If they get too comfortable, they won't be incentivized to get their own place. That's actually a good idea. Maybe he should move in, because if the threat of eviction doesn't stop him, maybe seeing my boyfriend will haha. Boyfriend hasn't been over since the incident, but he hasn't made any comments on my clothes at all, so maybe he's improving. Or maybe he just doesn't want to get evicted, who knows. Boyfriend movie night at least twice a week. Friends over for game night once a week, dance party night, etc. Enjoy your house. Now, where to find the friends to make this happen? I do feel like stepdad is making progress towards leaving on his own, but damn, it's slow progress. He hasn't made any comments since, and my mom says he's planning to pay the first rent soon, so I think I'm good for now. Sounds like you found a good solution. Not the a-hole. I was initially thinking of evicting them as soon as possible, but I figured that given he's been chill for months, I didn't need to go nuclear right away. My idea with charging the rent is that to an extent it's a punishment, but also a sort of hint that it's my house. Rent doubles every time he gets into your business. This is funny. I think I'll likely just evict if it continues to be a problem though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing custody to my baby daddy after 3 years? We were together for 6 years. 3 years ago, when our child was just 3, he left us to get back with his first family. They were never married, but they had already been separated for 5 years before we met. I never met his first partner, only their kids, who seemed nice, at least when they needed something. He used to borrow money from me all the time, always claiming it was for his kids' school expenses or other urgent needs. I helped because I wanted to support him as a father. Later, I found out he had been teaching his kids to act polite with me, so he could ask for money more easily. I read their conversations on Messenger, where they talked negatively about me behind my back. I never confronted him, I just took note of what kind of person he really was. When he left, I moved on and raised our child alone. No financial support, no visits, nothing. Now after 3 years of complete absence, he suddenly wants custody. Why? Because his first family left him again. According to a mutual friend, he couldn't provide for them, and on top of that, he's been seeing another woman. So now that he has no one, he thinks he can just claim the child he abandoned? Absolutely not. He had every chance to be a father, and he chose not to be. Custody isn't a backup plan for when your other options fail. Some people are telling me I should give him a chance because he's still the father. But where was that father when our child needed him? Nowhere. Am I the a-hole for refusing? Because to me, there is no choice. Not the a-hole. Be sure to document the entire timeline of this, with copies of all conversations for court. But this will go nowhere without him paying the 3 years of child support he owes. Custody isn't a second chance after failing his first family. Document everything, especially his absence and lack of financial support. He doesn't get to waltz back in now that he's alone. He wants custody so he can go after you for child support. Don't give him a chance. He is not still the father. He never was. That's my feeling too. He wants child support. It has to be about money. If he just suddenly wanted to be involved in the child's life, he would be asking for visitation. The fact that he's wanting custody is definitely all about money. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not saving my mother's child from foster care? When I, 24 male, was 16, my dad died in an accident. A week later, my mother moved another guy in and told me she was pregnant. Within 5 months of moving him in, she was married to this guy and had a daughter with him. I quietly moved out days before my 18th birthday and went no contact with my mother, her husband, and their kid. My grandparents, aunts, and uncles all had relationships with them and me, but separately. They asked me once or twice if I'd ever be open to reconciling, and I said no. I went no contact with one of my aunts 2 years ago when she invited me over to her place for lunch and then sprung the fact that she had my mother's other kid there. My aunt said she wanted to give me a chance to have a relationship away from my mother, and I told her I didn't want one. She said it didn't include my mother, and I told her it didn't matter. The kid wasn't someone I wanted a relationship with. I said we might be related, but I didn't care about her. I told my aunt she should have known that and instead tried to force me, so I was done. She told me it wasn't right to pass up the chance. I said the kid wouldn't want to be around someone who feels like they shouldn't exist, and that's how I feel. Last November, my mother and her husband died, and their daughter went to my grandparents for a couple of weeks. Then she went to a couple of other relatives, but none wanted to keep her and raise her. This is when they wanted me to step up. I said no a million times and warned I'd go no contact with them if they didn't accept my answer. They ended up placing her in foster care and had the caseworker reach out to see if I'd be willing to become her guardian. I explained that I wasn't, and I turned down the chance for contact between us. I said I wanted none. I didn't want any updates, and I didn't want my details shared with her or her future foster or adoptive parents. My mother's family didn't expect me to stand firm on my decision, and they questioned me for weeks before I followed through and went no contact. I was asked how I could live with myself if I didn't feel guilty, and whether I was worried about throwing away the chance for a relationship one day. I was honest with them. I didn't care. I didn't want a relationship. They asked if I'd be okay with her being abused in foster care. I said it wasn't something I'd feel guilty about, and told them that if they were so bothered, they should take her back and leave me alone. It was quiet for a few weeks after I blocked them everywhere. But then a cousin saw me on a night out with some friends and brought it up, and I had to leave because they refused to let it go. My cousin tried so hard to guilt-trip me. The whole family has, really. But I don't feel guilty. I could have taken the kid. I have a second bedroom in my small place. I don't make great money, but I could have made it work. I just don't want to. And the things I said to my aunt before, they're still how I feel. Am I the a-hole for this? I'm curious what unbiased parties will say. Edit to add, for clarification, my mother had an affair while my dad was alive, and they were still married and together when my dad died. She was already pregnant then too, and the affair partner was the father. Not the a-hole. You're not responsible for a child you never wanted a relationship with. Your family had the chance to step up and didn't. Expecting you to isn't fair. You set boundaries, and they ignored them. Don't let guilt-tripping change your decision. That's what I can't understand. None of them could pull together to raise her if that was such a priority for them. But they expected me to, knowing how I felt? I am so uniquely qualified to answer this. Part of my job is tracking down potential guardians for kids in care. It's not unusual at all for half-siblings to decline being involved. Often there's trauma they haven't processed, and it's unfair for anyone to expect you to jump in and raise another traumatized kid. The social worker will focus on the other family members as permanency options, then explore options in communities such as adoption. Don't feel guilty. They know this kid. They are involved with this kid. They can figure out how to support her moving forward. And it's cruel to both of you to plunk a traumatized kid into the home of someone who doesn't want them and has no connection to them. What are you supposed to do when she wants to talk about missing her mom? How awful would that be for both of you? Any family who brings it up should be asked why they don't take her. If they already know her and love her, they are a better choice anyhow. Do not feel guilty. This is not your burden to carry. Not the a-hole. Your mother betrayed your father and you by having an affair and getting pregnant while still married. Then she moved the affair partner in 1 week after your dad died? Absolutely disgusting behavior. You don't owe this child anything. Blood relation doesn't equal obligation. Your family trying to guilt trip you is manipulative as heck. They all refuse to step up themselves, but expect you to sacrifice your life? Your mental health matters too. Taking in someone you resent would be harmful for both of you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to acknowledge my half-sibling? I, 22 female, have a half-sister, 6 female from my dad's affair. I want absolutely nothing to do with her, my stepmother, or my dad. My mother was battling cancer when my dad decided to cheat. Instead of being there for his wife while she was literally fighting for her life, he was off playing house with another woman. That left me to pick up his slack, driving my mom to appointments, managing her meds, cooking, cleaning, and basically taking care of everything he should have been doing. I was 16. Meanwhile, my dad got another woman pregnant and then expected me to be a loving big sister to the result. I've made it clear since day one that I want no relationship with my dad's child, my stepmother, or my father, beyond what is absolutely necessary. I barely speak to my dad unless I have to, and I haven't spoken a word to my stepmother in years. As for my half-sibling, I do not acknowledge her existence. I don't talk to her, I don't babysit, I don't entertain her attempts to interact with me. If she comes up to me, I tell her to leave me alone and go back to whatever I was doing. I'm not mean to her, don't yell or insult her, but I refuse to engage. I treat her like a stranger's child. My father and stepmother hate this. They've spent years trying to force a relationship. They push my half-sibling toward me constantly, telling her she has a big sister who loves her but is just a little confused. I don't love her. That family is everything. If that were true, he wouldn't have cheated. That her big sister wants to be in her life? I don't. They try to shove her in my face every holiday, every visit. I've told them straight up, I don't care. She is nothing to me. She's just a kid I don't know, and I don't want to be around. The more they push, the more I dig my heels in. For contrast, I have an older brother, 27 male, and I am a very involved aunt to his kids. I love them to pieces, take them to family-friendly activities, and babysit them for free regularly when my brother and sister-in-law need a break. My father's side calls me a hypocrite for this, but I don't care. My nephew and niece are a family. My father's kid is not. My brother has cut my father's side off completely and has said he'll support me if I do the same. It's clear to everyone that once my grandparents pass, they're the only reason I still have some minimal contact. I'm cutting my father off for good. He'll be just a bad memory, and I feel nothing about it. No money, no guilt trip will ever be worth talking to the man who destroyed my teenage years by making me essentially take on the role of my mom's spouse for 4 years, when I should have been allowed to just be a kid. My stepmother recently confronted me saying I'm cruel and that it's not my half-sibling's fault how she was conceived, that she's an innocent child who just wants a sister. My father backed her up, calling me heartless. Other relatives have chimed in, saying I should be the bigger person, that I'm holding on to too much hate, and that I'm punishing a child for my father's sins. But I don't want to be the bigger person. I don't want anything to do with my father's new family, and I don't care if that makes me a B. But I want to know if I'm an a-hole for this, if only because I want to have an outside perspective with no skin in the game. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The problem isn't with OP who has a right to her feelings. The problem is with the parents who are setting the child up to be rejected. They are trying to manipulate her to be the bad guy by sending the kid the innocent one just like OP. And they need to knock it off. They're damaging that one too. Idiots. If you don't want anything to do with them, then why do you still see them? My dad and his wife often drop by my grandparents' house with no announcement, and I still want to go to family parties and reunions with my grandparents. And he'll be there when I do. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not sharing the story behind why I grew up in foster care with my wife's family? I, 28 male, went into foster care when I was 5 and stayed in foster care until I turned 18. I don't share the story with people often because it's the start of a lot of deep-rooted trauma that I've spent 8 years working through. The people who know are my 2 closest friends and my wife, 27 female. Oh, and my therapist. But I don't fully count my therapist because I told them for the purpose of healing, not to be upfront with the closest people in my life. My wife's family, both immediate and extended, are close. She has 2 living parents who've been married for 40 years, and she's the second youngest of 6. She has sisters and brothers-in-law, nieces and nephews. Her aunts, uncles, and cousins are regularly part of get-togethers, and I know them all pretty well. But I have never shared the truth with them. They're curious, and I've been asked questions about my past. I answer them with a public version, as I call it, that I went into the system at 5, never had contact with my biological family again, and that I feel it's for the best. They've also asked questions about finding them again and why I don't reach out. A part of why I never tell the full story is that one of my more immediate relatives was a child themselves when I was placed in the system, or a younger teen to be more specific. I know there will be questions about why I don't try to get in touch with them. Plus, I feel like it will lead to encouragement to search for people I've never met, and I'm simply not interested. My wife agrees that her family would probably push for it and wouldn't be able to understand my refusal, and she supports my decision to say nothing. But some of her family are unhappy about being kept in the dark. It's come up a few times, and my wife shuts it down, telling them it's not something they need to know. But I know the conflict will increase over time because of this, and I feel bad about it, especially since I get along well with everyone outside of this issue. So tell me, am I the a-hole or not? Not the a-hole. They need to mind their own business. Why you grew up the way you did, and the trauma around it, is none of their concern. Why are they so hung up on figuring it out? I think there's a mix of curiosity and wanting to play the hero. In my experience, that's why people push so much anyway. They want to be the ones to help me reunite with people. I had a social worker like that for a few months. It was hell. Help you reunite people you have no interest in reuniting with? They sound real fun. They should use their savior complex elsewhere. That social worker was taken off my case for that reason. Reached out to the formerly minor relative when I was a teenager and tried to push reunification. Their feelings hadn't changed about me, and it was fun hearing about that. Not the a-hole. Damn. People really do like to be in other people's business, don't they? You do not owe them an explanation or your life story. Please keep asserting those boundaries. They do. A small part of me gets being curious, but I can't imagine pushing like some of them have. Update. My best friend was hooking up with a married man, so I told his wife. Original post. Both me and my best friend are 20 females. We had been friends for about 5 years or so. I considered her my sister because we were just that close. We tell each other everything, and she told me how she was hooking up with a married man. Mind you, he's 50-something with kids and grandkids. I told her to end it because she was being stupid. She knows that I don't condone cheating. I try to keep an open mind, but some things like cheating, I do not tolerate. But she said she's gonna continue hooking up with him because it makes her feel like good about herself. Her reasoning was that this married man would rather sleep with her than his wife, and that made her feel good about herself. I need y'all to know this. Hooking up with a married person is not a brag. It just means you are pathetic. I asked her what about his wife, and she said she doesn't care about his wife. Her words were, if his wife was being a good wife, then he wouldn't be out here sleeping with her. And that just pissed me off. I screenshot all our texts. She would send me videos of them doing it. Their text convos, their dates, all the gifts he bought her, videos of him bad-mouthing his wife, and so much more. I saved all of that. I easily found him on social media too because my friend was following him. That a-hole didn't even make his account private. He posted pictures of his wife, kids, and grandkids. From there, I found his wife on social media, followed her and sent her a DM with all the proof. Then I sent friend a text saying, which I'm paraphrasing here, that she is the scum of the earth, and I don't want anything to do with her. After that, I blocked her and everything. I sent the wife the DM about an hour ago, and she hasn't responded yet. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Who the heck sends their friends explicit footage of themselves? That's just ew. Especially to the friend who is telling her what she's doing is wrong. It's almost like she's trying to get caught. Sending you videos of them doing it? Do people actually do this? A friend of mine did this, and he's no longer my friend now. Actually, I don't have a freaking clue why people even make videos like that. I mean, why? Are you going to do yourself later to a video of yourself hooking up? I just don't get it. Sex is a private and intimate thing, and you should be 100% present in the moment, not thinking about how it's going to look on video. It's not my thing, but I do have a friend who loves to take videos of himself and his wife. He doesn't show anyone, but apparently he and his wife like to watch the videos later, like their own AVs. I mean, if you and your partner are into it, I won't judge. It's not cool to send them to other people though. We see so many stories on this app from women whose husbands expect them to do all the childcare and household chores, and then cheat because their wife has no time to take care of herself or his needs. Your friend is naive enough to believe a cheater when he blames his wife for his decision to cheat. I hope for her sake that she never has to learn from personal experience what his wife's side of the story is. Or where a man has 2 jobs to care for the home, kids, and a stay-at-home mom, and the woman cheats because he never has time for her. If people would learn to communicate and have some empathy for each other, there wouldn't be so much of this garbage around. My husband was 55 when he died in 2020. I found out 3 days later he had been hooking up with a 30-year-old for 2 years, and that at some point, she had terminated his baby. You did the right thing. The wife will need time to process this and she may not make contact. I also have screenshots of texts and even recordings of their discussions. I'm heartbroken. That is just awful. I am so sorry you had to find out that way. Now for the updates. I just posted this because I was angry at my friend and I just needed to vent. I didn't expect the post to go off, so I logged out. That being said, screw everyone that has called me names and telling me that I am a horrible person for telling the wife. She deserves to know the truth. Like I said, I do not accept cheating. And my friend knew that, but she didn't care. But thank you to everyone that has been kind and supportive towards me. I really appreciate it. A lot of people are calling my friend a narcissist. Well, she isn't my friend, but I don't know what to call her. And I think they might be right. She always loves being the center of attention. And if the attention isn't on her, she'll find a way to bring it on her. A lot of people were hooked on the fact she sent videos of them doing it. And I should have added more context to that. So basically, she has always done that because she knows it makes me uncomfortable. Every person she has hooked up with, she has sent a video to me even though I said countless times to stop. She likes that it bothers me, and she used to make fun of me for that. I really wish it isn't happening because I lost my best friend, someone I considered my sister. Sure, even though she was a crappy friend, she was there for me during the roughest time of my life. It just hurts a little for me, but I know I'll get over it. The wife still hasn't opened a DM, or maybe she saw it and hasn't said anything. I'll make an update if she responds if y'all want. Also, my friend that I blocked, I haven't seen her in a while. I have no idea what she's up to now, but I really hope she has come to her senses. Update 2. The wife saw the DM, and she just hit the fan. I'll update you all when things cool down. I just wanted to say again, thank you all for your support. Full update. Sorry you all for not updating sooner. I have been so busy with college and work. I'm also dealing with some other personal stuff, and it has been so very emotionally draining to the point where I do not even want to get out of bed anymore. I wanted to say once again thank you to everyone that offered me kind words and supported me. Y'all are amazing. I really appreciated it. And to everyone in my DMs and in the comments calling me a horrible person for what I did, screw you all from the bottom of my heart. Take your cheating and home-wrecking propaganda somewhere else. You will not be going to get any sympathy from me. To the people that were saying I am not a good friend because I ratted my friend out, like I said in the comments, I do not want to be friends with cheaters. Being a good friend means holding your friends accountable for their actions. My friend could not give any less of a damn that she was sleeping with a married 50-year-old man. She was getting off on that he was choosing to be with her instead of his wife. She enjoyed being a mistress. And honestly, I do not know how long she would have continued if I did not tell the wife. Also, for the people in my DMs asking to see the video of my friend doing it with a married man, y'all are disgusting and a disgrace to society. It is already soul-crushing to see someone you called your best friend be so trashy. Now on to the update. So the wife saw my DM. She texted me saying that she is incredibly grateful to me for telling her that her husband was cheating on her. She's glad that I notified her for her husband's infidelity. I told her, of course, I do not condone cheating at all, and what my friend and her husband were doing was disgusting. She agreed and said she had suspicions that her husband was being unfaithful. She once again said she was thankful for what I did for her. I wished her the best of luck with whatever she decides to do. The conversation with the wife was short, and honestly, I preferred it to be short. I was feeling guilty because I might have crushed this woman's entire life. But then I remembered I did nothing wrong. Her husband and my friend did. The very next day, my now ex-best friend was banging on my door and screaming for me to come out. I told her to get lost and that I want nothing to do with her. She was wailing and screaming at my door. I told her if she does not leave, I am going to call the cops. That must have scared her because she left right away. I apologized to my neighbors for the loud noises this early in the morning. Thankfully, my neighbors said it was all good. I have my ex-friend blocked on everything, so I did not get any messages from her, but she made burner accounts to contact me. I just ignored her every attempt to reach me. She was so desperate that she DM'd my partner on Instagram, but he also blocked her everywhere. LMAO. But that little trash had to drag the rest of our friends. She told them I was being a witch to her and spreading rumors about her, and they all ganged up on me. What rumors? You are the one sleeping with a married man here. So I told them the truth, that she was hooking up with a married 50-year-old man and bragging about it. I told them that I told his wife, and that is why she's throwing a tantrum. Me telling the truth made her come clean with our friends, and let's just say a lot of them were disgusted with her. Now our friends are divided. Some say I should have minded my own business, and others are saying I did nothing wrong, and that the wife deserves to know. So I lost some friends, but oh well, as if I care. Now, some of them do not want her around because she might try to hook up with her boyfriends. According to a friend of ours, this made her really mad. They were telling me now how she went on a rant about how she's not going to hook up with their boyfriends. She's better than that? And someone said, well, you didn't let the fact the man you were with was married. So what's to say you won't try to hook up with one of our boyfriends? Let me tell y'all, I laughed so hard when I heard that. Imagine being surprised that people do not trust a cheater. Some of our friends work with her, and I guess they must have told the rest of her co-workers, because she is being shunned at work too. Everyone in her classes also knows that she willingly had an affair with a married man, so that is embarrassing for her. Now, I was a little curious about what happened to her relationship with that old dude, so I asked my friends about that, the ones that do not support her cheating. From what I have gathered, soon as the wife found out, she confronted the husband and asked for divorce. The husband panicked and dropped my friend. It also came to light that he was hooking up with 3 other different girls. Can you freaking believe the nerve of that man? My friend was upset because she thought she was the only one, and offended that he would do that to her. Like, girl, be freaking for real. He's a cheater. You think he was going to be loyal to you? I can't believe she actually thought he was going to choose her. That is hilarious. Although she is more upset about how she won't be pampered anymore, or be getting gifts from him. Oh, also, her parents found out, and they were extremely disappointed to say the least. So that caused some major tensions with her family too. I honestly forgot that her family might also end up getting involved, and I do feel a little bad about that because her parents are wonderful. I have no idea how she turned out the way she did. Now my friend is miserable. Most of her friends do not like her anymore. She's being shunned at work, everyone in her classes is talking about her. She lost her sugar daddy, and her family's disappointed in her. Well, that is what she gets for bragging about being a mistress. I wonder if it was worth it for her. Let this be a lesson for the people that are cheating and home wrecking. Don't do it. There are so many people on this earth. Maybe don't go after people that are taken. It is not worth it in the end. As for me, I'm keeping her blocked and avoiding her like the plague. I know I am not alone. I still have some of my friends and my partner that support me. Most of all, I have all these kind strangers on the internet that also support me with kind words. Thank you all once again. My partner has booked a romantic getaway for us this weekend, and I'm excited for that. So, I'll be keeping my phone on silent for the rest of the week. Biggest question for me. How did a married dude find the time to be sleeping with 5 women at different times? Didn't he have a job? There's literally a guy on the adultery sub that has bragged about having 10 plus affair partners at one time. I don't get it either. Like, couldn't they cure a disease or something with all that energy? For real. Like, try an STD to start. The fact that there's an adultery sub in the first place makes me wish more and more for a meteor. I can't wrap my head around it existing either, because I associate cheating with lapses in judgment, guilt, regret, and self-hatred. I can't even imagine that kind of people who would be proud of it. I honestly hope they all reap what they sow. She went on a rant about how she's not going to hook up with their boyfriends. She's better than that. This is hilarious. You definitely did the right thing in telling the wife. Just wait for the friend to be blaming all of this on you. Yes, it's your fault that the wife found out. Go you. But damn, everyone now knows about it all because she wanted to protect that dignity she thought she had. Go you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What kind of low-class second-rate homewrecker do you take me for? I only go after married men. I'm not interested in your silly little boyfriend. I mean, I'm happy that she got what she deserved, but I really hope this married man will lose even more than her, because at the end of the day, he was the married one with a family. Me too. Last story. TikTok ruined my girlfriend's view about relationships. I'm starting this by saying what I've done. I've given my all since the beginning of the relationship. I've wanted to share my interests with her, learn more about her interest, and start new journeys with her. I have never cheated, nor looked at other women in any type of way. No matter how upset I may seem, I have always been loyal and doing the best for her. Now on to what I'm here for. My girlfriend's TikTok is filled with things like, your man should be doing this. Men have to do this. If your man doesn't do this, then leave him. It's completely filled with that, and that's all she sends me. A majority of them I already do/planned on doing, like date nights, spending time with her, etc. But she has it in her mind that she doesn't have to do anything in the slightest, and I'll still do everything TikTok tells me. Absolutely not. If you're expecting me to live this influencer lifestyle, then you can put the bare minimum into the relationship. I try to enjoy her interest, and even though I don't like it, I at least try. Whenever I try to share my interests, all she says is, ew, and immediately goes back to what she wants. I try to send her good morning texts and such, but they get ignored. Instead, she sends me 20 TikToks, then responds to the good morning texts hours later. When we hang out, the rare times we do, she decides to sit on the complete opposite side of the room. Every single time. She gives me no type of affection whatsoever, and her justification for all of it is, you're becoming so sassy. You've seen the TikToks I sent you. You're supposed to make me happy. I'm not supposed to make you happy. So again, why would I give her dates, trips, etc. when she treats me like some object? She loves to brag how she has a boyfriend, but she doesn't even care to show said boyfriend any type of love. And now I plan on leaving her, because I had hoped things would have gotten better. But nope. The TikToks have gotten more frequent and annoying, and I'm just done with it. I have not proofread this, nor do I plan on coming back, but I needed to get this off my chest. I'm just tired of pretending to be happy. Relationships are a two-way street. You need to sit down with her and tell her that. She's so concerned with what you can do for her, but had no interest in what you can do with her, or what she can do for you. You're not a boyfriend, you're a butler. Just dump her and find a girl that isn't an idiot. And when you dump her, make sure you record it and put it on TikTok. He needs to start spamming her with TikToks from trash men about what women need to be doing for them, because that's the equivalent of what she's doing. My ex-wife was in princess mode. She spent her days comparing our life to others. While we weren't well off, we had a nice 3-bed, 2-baths we rented for under market value, had decent money coming in, 17 plus an hour, and had our needs met. Every other week we would go out for days that we would swap who planned it. Then, her friends started getting divorced, and suddenly I could do nothing right. I would cook extravagant dinners, and she would complain about how I used garlic powder instead of actual garlic, or some minor stuff like that. On top of that, her ultimate goal was to not have to work. She dreamed of quitting her job and living off my income alone. We didn't even have kids. She just didn't want to work. And the straw that broke the camel's back was when I messed up deferment on student loans and got slapped with a wage garnishment. That meant her dream of quitting her job was over, and she filed for divorce 2 weeks later. Damn, if I had someone cooking lavish meals for me, the last thing I'm complaining about is garlic powder versus actual garlic. I'm happy your trash saw itself out. And 34 male cheated with her, but it says that she's lying. How do I get to the truth and then salvage whichever one of these relationships is worth saving? Original post. I've been best friends with Becca since 2010. We were college roommates, and then after we graduated, we still lived together up until I moved in with my boyfriend Nate in 2019. One thing about Becca is that she's always had a drinking problem for as long as I've known her. And she's done stuff while drunk that has sometimes caused problems in our friendship. She does try to stay sober, but every few years something will happen to make her start drinking again, which is what happened earlier this summer. So last Saturday, Becca called me because she was drunk somewhere and needed a ride home. I couldn't go pick her up because I had flu, and I was in cold medicine, so Nate went to get her instead. A couple of days after that, I started noticing that Nate was being weird with his phone. Normally, he leaves it out on a coffee table if we're watching TV or whatever, but he started putting it face down, so I couldn't see what notifications he was getting. My first thought was that he was trying to plan a surprise. And because of the timing, I thought that maybe Becca was helping him. Yesterday, I saw Becca. I told her that Nate was being sneaky all of a sudden, and asked her if he said anything about maybe proposing soon. She asked me if I looked through his phone, and I said no. Becca started crying and told me that she and Nate hooked up in his car that night that he came to pick her up. Her excuse was that she was really drunk and didn't fully know what she was doing. She said she'd been texting him since, telling him that he needed to tell me what happened or else she was going to. I asked Becca to show me the texts, but they were all in the app Signal, which deletes messages after a day. So all I could see was that she and Nate had a chat thread, but nothing that they said. I told her to text Nate in front of me, so I could see what he said. And she did, but we got no read receipt and so no response at all, so it didn't prove anything. I asked Becca if she was sure she wasn't so drunk that she maybe imagined it, or thought a dream was real, and she absolutely lost it on me. I said that she knows that she's horrible when she drinks, but that she's not freaking delusional, and she doesn't make things up. She said that I could believe her or not and it's my choice, but she was telling me the truth. I just said I needed to go home and talk to Nate. So when I got home, I confronted Nate with what Becca had said, and he acted shocked and denied that anything like that happened at all, and said he didn't know why I should think so or say so. He said that he had just given Becca a ride home, and the only thing that happened was that they talked about how he and I had been together for a long time and how we should get married already. He admitted they were talking on Signal the next couple of days, but he said that it was about exactly what I thought, that he was asking her about engagement rings and what kind of proposal I would want. Nate replied to Becca's message from before, asking her if she made up a story about them hooking up to not ruin the surprise about his proposal. And she texted him back that there was no proposal and to stop playing dumb. So then Nate called her pretending like I wasn't in the room and told her that she needed to stop whatever she was trying to do because we were on the verge of breaking up and he'd rather just have the surprise be ruined. But Becca just kept telling Nate to stop lying until he got angry and hung up on her. I really didn't know what to think, and I still don't. Right now, Nate is really upset and not really talking to me much. He says that it's bad enough that Becca acted insane and ruined his plan to propose, but it's even worse that I believed her lies even a little and would think that he would ever cheat on me. Becca texted me saying she was sorry, but otherwise I haven't talked to her either. I don't want to think that Nate would cheat on me or that he'd take advantage of Becca if she was that drunk. But I feel like I can't be 100% sure because I've known Becca for 13 years. And I also just can't believe that she'd lie to me about something this important. And I know that she does have a drinking problem, so I can believe that she'd sleep with my boyfriend if she was drunk out of her head. She's done some pretty awful things in the past when she's drunk. I don't want to wrongly accuse Nate of something he didn't do, but I don't want to be an idiot. Now for the top advice before reading the update. What else has Becca done to you while drunk? I feel like more past context is needed. Does she normally black out? Forget things? Misread situations? Has she hooked up with a past partner? Hit on guys you like? Please provide more background. The fact that they're using Signal to communicate definitely makes me think it's something sketchy and not some innocent thing. I am 60% believing her, but please provide additional details. So in the past when she's been drunk, Becca's blacked out and started fights with me and other people. She'll say really out of line, insulting things. She's kicked people out of our apartment because she didn't remember inviting them in. She's accused me of stealing clothes from her because I was wearing an outfit that looked like something that she owned. That kind of thing. She's never hooked up with anyone that I was dating, but she's definitely hooked up with guys that she knew I was interested in. Wow, that's tough. I'm sorry you're in this situation, because she seems like a total unreliable narrator. But also your boyfriend doesn't seem like he's acting that trustworthy either. What's your gut feeling? I don't know. I really don't think that Nate would cheat, but I just can't imagine that Becca would completely make this up. Both of their stories somewhat make sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know why Becca would be saying this if it wasn't true, but I'm afraid of deciding I definitely believe her and then having her later realize she forgot she hooked up with somebody else that night or something. From a new device, you can add the app and recover up to 30 days of messages by hitting the Restore Recover after being prompted with your 30-digit passphrase. Remember, nothing is deleted from servers. All your stuff is out there. I don't care what app you use. There is no such thing as privacy on a smartphone or computer for the average user. Now for the update. So on Thursday night after I got everyone's advice, I told Nate that I had found out a way to recover deleted messages from Signal. He immediately took out his phone and opened the app and asked me to show him how to do it. So I already thought that must mean he was telling me the truth because he didn't panic or hesitate at all. Which was good, because when I tried to download Signal on my old phone, it turned out that it's too old to support the current version of the app, so it wouldn't work. Nathan asked me if we were going to have to go out and buy a new phone for me to believe that he was telling me the truth, and he said that he was willing to do it if that's what it would take. I told Nate it wasn't that I didn't believe him, I just wanted to have some proof, because I just couldn't understand why Becca would lie about it. Nate said that she would lie about it because she's a freaking crazy drunk witch. And there's literally no way for a non-crazy person to understand why she would do anything. And once the messages prove that, he didn't ever want me talking to her again. Then his had to get up because if we were going to go to the Verizon store, we had to get there before it closed. By then, I completely believed Nate anyway. So I told him we didn't have to go anywhere or get a new phone, and that I believed him and I knew he didn't cheat on me, and that he would never do that. Nate said that he would hope I know that, and that he didn't understand why I didn't take his word for it in the first place. I started trying to explain why I didn't want to just immediately dismiss what Beck had said happened, but Nate said that he really couldn't listen to that right now. I said that was fair and agreed that I would cut Becca off. But at first, I wanted to try to get her to admit that nothing happened. Nate said fine, but to call her with my phone on speaker, because he thought he also deserved to hear her admit that she was lying. So I called Becca and I said the same thing to her that I said to Nate, that I figured out how to recover deleted messages on Signal. She asked me why I would need to do that, so that was when I knew for sure that she was definitely making it up, and not just confused somehow. I said it was because I wanted to have proof of what she and Nate talked about. Becca asked me if I saw their messages, so I lied and said yes. After that, Becca just went silent, until finally I asked her if she was going to say anything. Then she asked me if that meant that we were engaged now. So then I really just lost it on her and screamed at her, asking her if she was freaking serious. And what the heck was wrong with her? And how could that possibly be all that she had to say? Becca started screaming back, telling me to calm down and about how obviously I never believed her anyway, because it's not like we broke up over it. I was crying by that point, and because of that I couldn't really say anything else. So then Nate told Becca to get lost and to never ever contact either one of us ever again, and hung up on her. A minute later, Becca sent me a completely unhinged text that I'm quoting here verbatim apart from changed names. Courtney, you are supposed to be my friend for life. You are supposed to be there for me. You are supposed to be my person. But then you meet Nate and now you only care about Nate. Everything is about Nate. Tell me why Nate comes to pick me up when I call you. I called you, not your precious freaking Nate. I only want you to see how messed up this is. But do you? No, of course you don't. Of course you choose Nate over me like you always do, and like you always will. You pretend to care about me, but I can't see you don't care. It is pathetic, Courtney. You are a pathetic woman who would choose a man over a friend. Since you have to have your sweet, perfect little baby Nate do it for you, I will. Goodbye, Courtney. Is that what you want? Goodbye forever. I hope you got what you freaking want. There were the 3 dots after that showing she was still typing more, but I blocked her before she sent it. I don't care about anything else that she has to say. I'm sure it's all just going to be more BS about why this is my fault, or justifications about why what she did wasn't that bad and I should forgive her. I know Nate is probably right, and there's no non-crazy logic behind why Becca would stoop to doing something like this. But obviously, I've still been thinking about it, and my best guess is that whoever said that Becca still blames me and Nate, apparently mostly Nate, for her being a drunk mess who can't get her life together, is right. It seems like she somehow thought that if she said she hooked up with Nate, I'd break up with him, but still wants to be friends with her and then everything would magically be fixed. As far as stuff with Nate, I asked him if he thought he could ever forgive me for doubting him, and he said that since I came to my senses and I cut Becca off, he guesses we can try to put it behind us. I don't think he's still going to propose anytime soon. After this, I probably wouldn't if I was him. And from what Nate said, he didn't actually do any planning yet other than asking Becca about rings, and if I'd think a public proposal was tacky or not. All he was doing so far was trying to get ideas without me knowing he was talking to her about it. So just based on that, I think probably it's not going to happen for a while if it still does at all. Also, thanks to everyone for the advice and support. I know I didn't respond to many comments, but I really did appreciate everyone who cared enough to want to help. Wow, this is a perfect example of how drugs and alcohol affects behavior and logical thinking. BFF thought admitting to sleeping with your serious boyfriend would result in a positive or a win for her. Sorry this is going to delay your future with Nate, but hopefully with a bit of time behind you, everything will be back on course. Maybe invest in some security devices like cameras and rape alarm in case Becca approaches. I'm guessing you haven't seen the last of her. I'm sure she won't just go away. I'm already expecting her to try to get our other friends to get in the middle of everything as soon as she figures out she's actually blocked. And I'm not just ignoring her. I hope she won't try to do anything else, but I guess at this point I really can't know with her. I'm hoping things are okay with Nate. I think in a while they will be. I would get out ahead of that. Message your mutual friends and explain the basics of what happened. Tell them you're not asking them to take sides or cut her off, but you expect that she will try to get to you through them and you're asking them to respect your decision to end that friendship. I have something like that drafted. I just know that once I send it, everyone is going to want to talk to me about it, and I'm just not looking forward to it. I'll do it pretty soon though. It sounds like you are the most patient one of her friends regarding her drunken mishaps. I'm sure your other friends will be on your side once you explain her lies. Had you been pressuring Nate to propose at all? Not even. We've talked about it a little just because I'm getting into my 30s and whatever, but to be honest, getting married isn't even that big a deal to me. Or to Nate either, I don't think. I actually somewhat have the impression that Becca bringing it up made Nate think that I had said something to her. So that's why he decided to ask now. But obviously this doesn't seem like the best time for conversation about it. So that's just my feeling. Well, if it isn't something you've been pressing for or even want necessarily, just concentrate on getting your relationship back to where you want it. Sounds like if you stay no contact with Becca, you have a good shot of that happening. I'm curious if Becca ever said anything to you when she hooked up with guys you liked? Do you think she was blocking you on purpose to keep you for herself? Did she try anything with Nate before you were exclusive? Or was she drunk and looking for hookups? I don't think she ever put enough thought into those hookups to be malicious like that. She was just inconsiderate and would go after whoever. Last story. My girlfriend, 28 female, doesn't want me, 27 male, to keep our current dog because she's old and thinks she'll cost more money than we need to spend. How can I respectfully tell her I'm not getting rid of the dog? Me and my girlfriend have been dating for 6 years. I brought a dog into the relationship who was 5 years old at a time. The dog is currently 11. I had conversation with my girlfriend about this and the possibility of another dog. The first thing she said was, no, dogs in general are expensive. Which reminds me, you should get rid of the brat we have right now, because all dogs like her are so much more expensive. After she said this, I told her that the dog was my best friend and something I would never get rid of because she means too much to me. I told her that the dog matters more than money. She got mad, and she said that the dog should matter less than what she wants because we've been dating for 6 years. I simply got up and left the room to calm down. The dog has never been a problem. She hasn't had to do anything with her other than feed her at night when I'm at work. The dog hasn't ever been a problem in the time we've been dating. She's mostly lazy, and the most she does is a daily walk that my girlfriend hasn't ever had to do. I've owned this dog for longer than we've been dating, and this dog gave me the love that I wasn't able to get from anyone. How can I tell my girlfriend that I'm not going to get rid of the dog? I don't want to cause more problems than needed, but I do care about my girlfriend, and I don't want to lose her because of something as stupid as this. Now for the advice. How can I tell my girlfriend that I'm not going to get rid of the dog? You tell her straight. I'd be concerned at this point about how she treats your dog when you're not around. To word this in the gentlest way possible, I don't suppose it's with kindness. I seriously think you need to walk away with your dog. Yeah, I would seriously be concerned that one day you're gonna come home to find your dog gone, with your girlfriend saying, "Gosh, he must gotten out and run away, I guess," and not knowing if she actually drove him 100 miles away and abandoned him in the woods, or took him to a vet and had him put down. How about getting rid of the girlfriend? Like, for real, why you want be together with someone who wants to throw away an animal when I could get ill and cost money? What will happen when you get ill and cost her money? Or a child? She's unemployed, so I would be caring for myself with my own money. And we've talked about the children thing before, but she believes children are more important than animals, says they are a lifelong responsibility. You should get rid of her, because unemployed girlfriends are more expensive. Edit. Thank you everyone for the advice. I didn't think there would be so many people helping with this. I have decided, when I have time, to get rid of the girlfriend. I can't be with someone who, like many of you have said, who will not care for me when I'm old and sick with her, or who will divorce and leave me when our children turn out to be too expensive. Me and Pupper will live our best life without that weight on our shoulders.